Now, following a wave of public complaints alleging technical glitches, incomplete questions and unusually low scores, the Registrar of the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, Professor Ishak Oloyede, last week addressed the widespread complaints over the 2025 UTME results, admitting that technical errors had affected some candidates' scores. The nationwide examination, a gateway to higher education for millions of Nigerian youths, was thrown into turmoil after technical failures reportedly compromised the test results of nearly 380,000 candidates. Well-meaning Nigerians have called on the Joint Administrations and Matriculation Board, JAMB, to initiate an urgent and independent audit of its digital systems following the large-scale technical disruptions that marred the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. Addressing the media in Abuja on Sunday, 18th of May 2025 in Asokoro, Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Benjamin Kalu, described the incident as a national crisis that has severely undermined public trust in Nigeria's examination system. Well, joining us on the show to discuss the 2025 UTME result controversy is Alex Onyia, CEO, Educare. Good morning and welcome to the program today.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Great. Great to have you.
Thank you.
Alex, the JAMB controversy, right? You are into the education sector,
Yeah.
Educare. Now, what's your take? Let's start from there. About the glitches, about the processing, about the makeup exams, the whole works. I don't need to repeat them to you.
Yeah, I think let's not use the word glitch. I think this is actually a clear human error. So, and actually from JAMB system. So, unfortunately, this happened, and we didn't know. When I just noticed that, I studied patterns, I started noticing that the failure rate was too much. Somebody scored 281 2 years ago, scored 311, and the person is scoring 164. And you see a lot of patterns. Somebody that won the national mathematics competition is scoring 40. The best students in top schools are scoring 140 in JAMB. I said, no, there's something that is really wrong. And of course, we have a lot of data also in Educare. When I put it up online, I said, you know what, if you have issues, tell me. I got like 18,000 people make reports. And obviously, I know that there's something wrong. And that's why I had to say, you know what, we must get to the end of this. As I was telling you, I had at least over 100 people who have been writing me that they're about to take their lives. And you can see that JAMB is something that is very critical to the life of these children. So it is a must that we have to get to them. So fortunately, I said, let me first of all activate the Freedom of Information Act. When I activated it, and I wrote to JAMB and also wrote to the Senate and also wrote to the House. Fortunately, they reacted almost the next day, and then they engaged, so allowed us to come and look at the system. When we looked at the system and understood the architecture, we noticed something. There are two main clusters. They have the CAD cluster, and they have the LAC cluster. And even within the LAC cluster, there's what they call the Lagos zone, there's what they call the Owerri zone, and some other parts. Of course, Kogi, FCT is part of the LAC cluster. So the big question was, why did it affect just these people, right? Why didn't it affect these same people in the same cluster? That means there's something really fishy that we need to dig into. I mean, one thing I really commend JAMB for is JAMB is actually a very transparent organization, and you can see the highest level of sincerity in them. However, there are people that they work with, right? Which, of course, they work with vendors. The point is, who are these vendors? And for me, I was like, these people actually need to come for public scrutiny because we need to understand what exactly happened. And now that we found this, because probably this is the biggest, for the past 12 years, what has been happening? Because in technology, what it means is every year you improve on where you were. So if today we're experiencing disaster, we actually need to look back in the previous years. So I mean, at a glance, this is basically what happened, and now they have to fix. I recommended that they remark, because doing a receipt in 48 hours is something, for me, I say it's not practicable. They insisted that they have to do it, and of course, they went ahead. A lot of people are happy for the fact they had opportunity to receipt, but a number of people also haven't had the opportunity. So I would say, because I asked them a question, do we have the data? They said yes. If you have the data, why can't we just remark, right? The reasons were not so strong, right? I mean, I just noticed that they were more focused on the receipt, right? So, okay, no problem, let's receipt. So the receipts, hopefully, if not, no issues happen again, I mean, the children will actually see their scores. But this whole thing has actually been a lot of...
No, but they said based on the advice from experts like you and computer scientists and the review over a 2-day period, they were able to isolate where the problems occurred.
Yes.
Lagos and Owerri zone.
Yes.
But you are saying the entire country, even where there were no issues, should be reviewed?
Yes, I think we need to, because aside from the Lagos and Owerri zone, I've gotten a lot of reports from Osun State, I've gotten from Edo State, but they are not as significant as the one that we did. These are like independent reports, which definitely they have to do investigations on. But you know, sometimes, in as much as this happens, some students may also want to take advantage of it. I mean, but however, this thorough review actually needs to happen, maybe after this exercise.
You mentioned something that several people have dismissed, majority of people have dismissed, but there's an undertone of a conversation happening.
Yeah.
Because you said that the Lagos cluster, the Owerri cluster, and you felt that something fishy happened inside.
Yeah.
Now, we've already heard from the Southeast Senate caucus who are saying that they don't want to believe that there could be an ethnic undertone to this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, social media runs wild.
Yeah.
That conversation has been dominant there.
Yeah.
What, in your findings, I know you still want a deeper investigations, but in your findings, why do you think those particular clusters were the ones affected and not any other part of the country?
So from what we saw, the investigation shows, I mean, from what we saw in the system, I mean, this was a patch that wasn't pushed. However, why did it happen in those two clusters, right? And in the same lag cluster, we still have other states. So my own point, I of course, I don't have any issue with JAMB as an organization, but it's the vendors that I was like, we need to know why. Because I feel that they need to explain to us more on why exactly this happened, right? For JAMB to give us access to their system, what it means is that there's nothing they are hiding, right? But we've already seen this, and we say, this vendor, we need to know why. By the time we interrogate them and also study more patterns, in as much as we had access, of course, we didn't have access to a lot because this is just like a day stuff here, but we need to be able to now look more deeply and find out exactly why. So I wouldn't say it's targeted, I wouldn't say it's not targeted, right? But maybe by the time, because you know, people online are very smart. You can't just deceive them, right? They are very intelligent. So even while you are talking, there are a lot of people who probably have worked with Amazon for like 30, 40 years. So they know a lot of things that probably you don't even know. So we need to be able to have that public scrutiny and ask more deeper questions. So with that, everybody can be convinced that this was actually human error. This is how it's fixed. This is why it's not going to happen again. These are the things that we need to be very convinced about.
So you haven't ruled out, in your own investigation, you have not ruled out foul play?
I haven't completely ruled it out, yeah.
What did you see when they opened up their system to you? Some of the complaints were that the system shut down while people were writing their exams. What did you see? Did you see lack of completion? Did you see irregular marking patterns? What did you see? And what are some of the outputs of the vendors that you saw?
So firstly, you know, JAMB doesn't own these CBT centers. Okay. So the whole issue of system shutting down is actually on their partner CBT centers, right? So which, of course, you still have to blame JAMB because I believe that you have 1 full year to be able to do a lot of all these checks. So that one is basically, it's like a common thing, right, which happens in their system. This particular thing happens year after year after year. Another thing that we saw is that we noticed that some children, like they complained as well, you see some questions with no answers. You see some answers with no questions, some few irregularities, right? Which, of course, is definitely going to affect them. Then, their fraud detection algorithm, that one I know is flawed.
Oh, and this was the fraud detection algorithm JAMB was campaigning and saying that we've gotten the person.
No, it's flawed.
So say it again. Their fraud detection algorithm is
completely flawed. Yeah. So it needs to actually be improved on because the logic and everything needs to actually be improved on. Because the way they even used to make the predictions is not something, it doesn't make sense. So they actually need to change that. So once that is improved, the point is that they actually make some significant improvement, but looking at
where did they make those improvements? So before we talk about the ones that are flawed in this their system.
Yeah, so they changed their pattern. You know, they already had like a pattern, even the way they do their question rotation and everything. They had the pattern they have used over the years. So they actually made that adjustment. And they informed the JAMB team, the registrar and the rest, that this is it. But I mean, they are not technical people, right? In as much as they had some expectations. But looking at the way these things have been structured, you can definitely see gaps. So that's why I was telling them that we need to review this part, and we need to even reanalyze the fraud detection process so that people don't just be victims, because a lot of children currently are being victimized for what they don't know, right?
Okay, secondly, I want to ask you this. Did you guys get access to JAMB server? Does JAMB have a collective server where all the data is?
Yes, they do.
They have a collective server. Did you guys get access? Did they give you access to be able to scrutinize the server, or they give you a possibility of an API to be able to have like an independent scrutiny?
No, they can't give you access to their API. So they just give us like a surface level access.
Okay.
Right, not like a deep level access within their system.
So, but that's what they should do for a comprehensive investigation, where they give an independent, forensic expert access to their API. They cannot be a judge in this case, isn't it?
Yeah, but this kind of systems, API wouldn't work. You don't need API for that one. I mean, just a normal direct access is fine. API probably will expose their system a lot more, which is actually security risk on that part,
Okay, you've talked about fraud detection system. What other reforms would you like to see on the basis of your interaction with the JAMB authorities? And second, you talked about these service providers, these vendors who run the CBT centers. Now, I've heard some people saying that they should be identified and sanctioned, prosecuted, if possible. From what you saw in terms of your review, do you think that the matter is that serious?
Yes,
for them to be
I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that, because this is so much of a risk, and the kind of reasons they gave is just too petty for a critical system like JAMB. So I feel that they should actually be sanctioned, yes. It's very important that it's done. Then in terms of improvement that I want, firstly, I don't know why we should write JAMB and wait for 2 weeks for results to be out. This is 2025 and this is CBT. Children should be able to write exam, and children should be able to see their results immediately. And secondly, I also want children to be able to see what they answered and what their own JAMB answer is. So even if they don't see it, that one can maybe a week after. But children should be able to do their own reassessment and also maybe raise questions if they want. So this actually makes the transparency a lot more easy when the transparency is in the hands of the students. Secondly, if you look at the JAMB onboarding process, you have to register. Sometimes you see children, they are waiting at midnight to see if the JAMB server is going. You know, those kind of things. I mean, it shouldn't be happening now. Change of course, you want to change course, like I have my cousin. She's already in school. Up to today, she hasn't been able to change back her university to the original one, telling her come back for like 2-3 months now, right? These are inefficiencies that shouldn't be happening. So those kind of entire process from the beginning to the end, they need to actually overhaul the process so that efficiency can be something that we'll be proud of.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. In one sentence, some people are saying that maybe the UTME is even redundant now. Are they going too far? Do we still need it?
I think we critically need it, yeah, because, I mean, sometimes because of issues like this, you see people cry, but if you notice, the reason why you see that there's still some level of quality in our education is because of JAMB. Check, I mean, for the fact that you need 360 or 320 to even come and participate in medicine, at least that gives you a guarantee, because UNN did something like 2 years ago when they removed the post-UTME. That was the worst form of admission ever. So they saw that the quality of the students dropped drastically. So having this kind of checks are important. The most important thing here is that it has to be very efficient. That is all that everybody's asking for. And what you did is actually what you should get. Not when you struggled and got something different.
And we need to look at the vendors again.
Yes, and even the process of how they got the vendors is even something we need to...
the process of getting the vendors to public scrutiny.
Very important, very important.
Yeah.
Mr. Alex Onyia, thank you so much. Incredibly insightful. A lot of takeaways from this conversation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.